I'm going to start recording that the talk today, if that's okay. And without further ado, Julie, why don't you go ahead and tell us some of your story, and about a little before 10 of 8, maybe we'll all have some time for question and discussion.
I'd love that. That sounds great. Colin is going to kick it off because he has to get to another meeting, so I'll let him.
Yeah. So this is not our full-time project yet together. Still employed and been in the software business for 25 years or so. So I still have an 8 to 5, and today it starts at 7:30 with a customer on the East Coast. But thanks for allowing us to join today and chat a little bit. Julie and I've been married to my girlfriend for coming on 30 years here in December. So we've had a long and wonderful journey together as we've grown together and grown together in Christ, especially, which has been so cool in this last year, especially as we've been working on a project together, which is really neat. Julie and I haven't had that together. I've been working and been an employee for software companies for so many years, and Julie this is all she gets to do right now. And prior to that, for a year, she was a part-time worker at our local church. But other than that, got to have one of the greatest opportunities on the planet, and that's to raise the family and raise 4 kids under the roof. So it's been a joy. It's been what's wonderful, and I think you probably already figured this out with Jules, is that she's a terrific woman of strength. Proverbs, there's a woman, and but it's a matter of fact, if you Google her, you'll see a little bit more. But nonetheless, she's a great woman of strength, and one of her pure joys is to be in alignment with where God's at, wherever Jesus says, "Hey, I want you here." And so part of the story that you're going to hear today is her a year ago saying, "Come on, are we doing this thing or not?" In other words, is this what you want? Because I want to be in alignment with you. And if I mean, you got to start opening up doors here, because this is just not happening. So the beauty of this now is that we get to have something that we get to share together, which really is. Yes, it'll be a business. Yes, it has to profit, and she'll explain why, because a lot of this has to do with giving back. But so it needs to have enough, financial enough. It needs to be self-supporting to be able to keep the lights on. But it is a ministry. The whole idea is around a movement of prayer. And it's not that there's not already a movement of prayer. It's just providing another tool or another resource to draw people into a relationship with God and into a prayer life, as much as you would with social media if you're sitting at your doctor's office. Instead of grabbing Instagram or Facebook, it's just here's a tool that'll draw you in that way. And the beauty of it, as you'll see, is that God designed every bit of it. Everything that Julie's even going to talk about as far as the project goes is all his design.
Yeah.
So that's been the joy for me, is to have something that we're working on together. Yeah. Hopefully it can be something that I can make a full-time effort with, but we still it just has enough, still has to profit in order to be able to do that. I mean, we still have we have a sophomore in high school, so we're still gonna, got to be at this while. So, as far as the working world goes, so, but anyway, that's just a little bit about myself and our world together. So.
Yeah. Huge support. It's been really, really exciting to have something that we share together. And the bigger heart's desire would be that, that we would together spend the rest of our life promoting prayer and pointing people to Jesus, that we would be able to do that together. And Lord willing, he's been in the software business for so long, and that the Lord would take me to the place of an app, after 20 years of being in the software business, and how he's designed that just in using his expertise, and he's taking off in one direction and I'm kind of going off in another. So it's just neat to see how the Lord's putting us together with that. So
yeah. That's a beautiful passion project, that's for sure, and in a lot of ways ill-equipped, right? You're just when you follow where God's saying to go, you go, yeah, okay, take the step, but
Yes.
we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway.
So I'll just jump in and I dropped my glasses. Okay, I'll just jump in and just start sharing kind of how this came to be. As a new believer in my 20s, I would sit in my quiet time with the Lord, and even back then, and that's going back a few decades, I would fantasize. I'd be like, oh, I want to do a journal for to help people with their prayer life. So the Lord dropped that into my heart's desire many years ago. But about 7 years ago, in my quiet time, he just kept giving me piece after piece after piece of what is now going to be this prayer app. And my heart in this is, a lot of us will use any good working tool, right? But I really want to capture the younger generations, the millennials on down. That is really where I feel like we really need to get them a little bit more off social media, onto something more positive, being surrounded by prayer, being surrounded by a mentor. So when you guys get a chance to look at the branding that's been done by actually Doug Burton. Do you guys remember Doug Burton that spoke a few weeks ago? Yeah, Doug did all the branding for this. He's 100% behind me. Loves what this app is going to do and is doing, and the design of it. But when you see it all, that was my heart's desire. The why behind it, as far as why prayer. Well, number one, we all know prayer is extremely powerful, and there is there's no greater gift than you can give somebody than the gift of prayer, right? And I've seen that in my own life, and that's kind of what you will see there's a video testimony you can see of mine on my landing page. But 8 years ago, we could all come up with a bazillion stories of how God's answered prayer, right? But my 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma, and tumors filled my abdomen. And it was very, very, very fast growing. Within a month, I had a lump on my neck. So it was spreading very, very quickly. And I didn't know if I would even have another birthday. I actually got diagnosed and heard the words cancer the night before my birthday. And you add to that the minute I was thrown into that situation, I went to a place of real extreme fear and anxiety. And I even went to a place of not knowing if I could handle the journey that was ahead of me. And really, and this is not in my video, but just to be totally transparent with you guys, my dad took his life. And he was a full colonel in the Army. He was a Ranger. He flew helicopters. And he, in my world, was just amazing, strong father, rock figure. And so when I got thrown into my situation, the enemy just attacked. The enemy got in there and said, Julie, if your dad couldn't handle his journey, how are you going to handle yours? So I was thrown to a place of I didn't know if I wanted to be here anymore. And it was the power of prayer and women praying over me fervently for 3 days that I was completely released from that thought, completely released from that piece of the struggle and the journey. I still had to walk out the fear piece a lot more, but I did not ever go to that place of I don't want to be here anymore. So prayer is powerful. I mean, that's just one example. But on the other side, what I've also experienced, I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but I've shared before about our son, Chandler, who's 15. He has been in pain all waking hours for 5 years with a headache. And we've spent 4 years with many specialists, tens and tens of thousands of dollars, trying to chase down what it is that's causing this. But back to prayer, I've gone to many Bible study tables, begging for prayer, desperate for prayer. And you go to your group, I go to my women's Bible study, and in between meeting, whether that's a week or 2 weeks, it would just be really quiet, right? You don't hear from people. And so again, Satan just wants to get in there and say, do they really care about you? Are they really praying for you? And I've been hearing about that same experiences for a lot of people, whether a friend of mine's on an elder board. He goes, Julie, do you know what it would mean to me if after I put my prayer requests in with my elder board, if just one person on my board within that 2-week period of time that we weren't meeting said, I'm actually praying for you? So built into the app is just encouragement features. It's a simple app, and I'm not going to get into all of it. Okay, bye, honey. I'm not going to get into any of the feature pieces, but just know that you can easily come alongside of people and let them know you're really praying for them, because the goals here, you guys, are number one, I want to create a movement of prayer, and you doing it with a tool that's going to grab that younger generation. But number two, build stronger communities, small groups, because we're really showing up for each other in prayer. And then number three, I'm going to give back to ministries. So if you are, right now I have 40 ministries on board already. Young Life, Youth for Christ. Some of these are local level places. I have Alpha. I have Legacy Institute there in the Seattle area. I don't know if you've heard of them. Reengage, which is a marriage ministry. I have Alexander House, which they run a really amazing marriage ministry as well. Faith International University. I mean, I just have a plethora of ministries that are already on board and can't wait for this app. But what I want to do is I want to bless them back. If they push this out to their people, there'll be a code attached to it. And then I want to be able so there's going to be a huge free version of the app, because I don't ever want to stop anybody from praying, a very substantial free version. But for those power users, there will be a subscription model, but we're talking around $30 a year. So nothing, nothing expensive. But when you go into that $30 a year model, I'm going to give back to ministries. If they pushed it out, there'd be a code attached to it, YL, Young Life 2022, and they would get a percentage back on every download. Because I just have seen how hard those ministries that are small to medium work to have income coming in to sustain their ministry. So I just wanted to come alongside of them in that capacity. The God story here, you guys, is mind-blowing. In October, I surrender this to the Lord every morning. I'm on my knees and I give it back to him, because it's his full ownership, and everything is his. But in October, I actually just was like, Lord, if this isn't what you have for me, then please shut the doors. And just because I know you have something else for me. I know you do. And if this isn't it, I just want to be in your will. And that was a huge changing point. I was reading in Matthew about Peter walking out on the water. And I don't know if I hadn't caught this in a long time, but he actually says, if it's you, tell me to come to you. So he actually, he was asking for it, right? Like he was asking the Lord to tell me to come to you. I'll come out on the water. And I feel like that was me in October. Like I was just like, Lord, I want to do this. I'll come out, but I need you. Are you in this? Is this really where you want me to be? And so that was a huge turning point. And my executive summary, I have a larger business plan, but my executive summary landed in the hands of a gentleman. And I didn't even know him. It was passed through 3 different people. And in my executive summary is a SWOT analysis of a company that I was trying to get to someday with regards to my app, because I saw this hole in their technology stack that they weren't offering prayer. And you guys, it lands in the hands of this guy. And he gets back to me and he goes, Julie, do you know anything about me? And I said, no, just that you're retired Microsoft. And I've been praying for techie eyes on my app. And he goes, well, Julie, yeah, I'm retired Microsoft, but I'm also on the board of that company that's in your SWOT analysis. We need to talk. And that was a huge turning point, you guys. That was totally the Lord's hand. We ended up connecting, walking for a couple hours because it was COVID. We couldn't meet anywhere. And he said, Julie, get busy, go. And so it was a big turning point. And a couple months after that, I was introduced to a company where they literally want to include the app already in their technology stack for nationally Youth for Christ, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Alpha Global. So I hope I'm painting the picture, you guys, well enough for you. All of a sudden, the Lord just starts presenting all these doors in front of me. And I am sitting back going, wow, okay, here we go, Lord, here we go. We're going to do this together. So I put together an advisory board. And do any of you guys know Steve Ridgway? He was, okay. Yeah, so Steve and I are very, very good friends, Colin, Steve and I, and he came alongside of me in a really bad, horrific situation that I was in about in 2018 that had to do with a church and a pastor. And so we became very good friends. We've been friends for years now, and he's on my board. And Eric Bowles, who's speaks to Fortune 100 companies, motivational speaker and coaches, CEOs across the country. He's also a pastor at a church. Every 6 to 8 weeks he teaches. He's on my board. Anyway, the Lord's blessed me abundantly. Do you guys know John Trent with Strong Families? Do you remember that name? Anyway, his daughter is on my board. Their ministry is supportive of what I'm doing in the app. So anyway, the Lord just started going, and I'm just chasing after everything that he's putting in front of me. I'm going to be doing crowdfunding in October. The board does not want me to A, give away equity right now, and B, they want me to retain what the Lord's given me and not have too many voices feeding into that. So I'm going to do crowdfunding in October. I don't know if you know anything about crowdfunding. I won't get into all of that, but I will give you this praise report. This is huge, you guys. And again, all of this is Jesus. All of this is the Lord. My reach right now in crowdfunding is 1.7 million people. And that is largely due to a huge chunk of that is a Christian influencer, and he's in his 30s, and he is TikTok famous. He has a huge following on TikTok, and not just a one-shot wonder, like following, high engagement factor. And he alone on TikTok is 1.3 million. And he is so excited about my app, and he's going to promote it. And I've got other ministries that are going to be promoting it. Anyway, God is just showing up in that as well. But this is still the biggest faith walk of my entire life. So I'm just going to ask for your prayers. And then I'm going to jump into just a few things that the Lord's been teaching me in this journey. But I would just covet your prayers. This is the biggest faith walk that Colin and I've ever taken. And the Lord is showing up, but that the month of October will be go time. You know, we're trusting the Lord for the provision. Apps are not cheap. And there's even part of me that, I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but sometimes I just want to run away right now. Like like you're in deep and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot. This is a lot of it's way over my head. But the Lord has brought me so many people who every time I think that, like the Lord brings somebody in my path who specializes in that or wants to volunteer to handle my social media or this, that, or the other. But yeah, and to just so you guys know, The Chosen, are you guys, I don't know if any of you are watching The Chosen. Oh my gosh, we're on our second round, Colin and I. And they did their fundraising through crowdfunding. So that was just, some people know about that. But I would love to just share a little bit about what the Lord's doing as far as just, recently, I spend at least, anyway, I spend a lot of time with the Lord in the mornings, and right now I need it now more than ever. But I've been studying Elijah all summer, and it's just been a mind-blowing walk through his story. And so recently I was looking at his boldness and how he went to great lengths to prepare the altar that where he was going to ask the Lord to bring fire down. And it brought me to this place of going, okay, Lord, what's the difference between preparing and worry? Because I will be honest with you guys, Satan is just trying to get in there and rob me of some peace in this journey, and I refuse. I love my joy and I love my peace, and I will fight hard for it. I will pull out the sword and fight hard for my peace and my joy. But it's been an issue this last few weeks, and so the Lord brought me to this place of looking at Elijah, and I realized, in preparation, in that mode, as I've also been preparing, you're getting ready for God to move. You're looking at all that he's doing in your sphere, and your heart and your resources are directing that way, but it activates me, right? When I'm preparing and I'm doing what the Lord wants me to do, it activates me. It makes me want to go do more and more and more and more. The opposite of that with worry is that it deactivates me and it actually paralyzes me. So just again, I've just looking at Elijah, looking at how he did prepare, but then the next thing he did was he did a simple prayer. And it's in 1 Kings 18:36 to 30 through 37. I don't have do you want me to read it to you? It's hang on, it should be popping right up. Let's see. Okay. It's so good, you guys, and it's so important. At the time of the sacrifice, the prophet Elijah stepped forward and prayed, Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. And that really struck me, because I want that. I want God to be glorified in anything that I do for him, but clearly, obviously, in this project of prayer. I want my relationship to be affirmed, that everything was under his direction. And I shout that from the mountaintops every time I talk about my app, because literally every piece of this came from him. I could not even have thought up some of these things. It all came from him. And the last part is that people's hearts would be turned back to him through this app, that it would drive them to a closer relationship with the Lord, because they actually are turning their hearts back to them and back to prayer. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Hey, Julie, can I you're so excited about the app and everything. I want to pull you back a little bit. I want to hear a little more about your own prayer. I think the healing stories, I wrote asterisks here. If you could just fill in a little, flesh out when the 3 women or multiple women praying for you for 3 days, and then what happened after that. And then also your son, Chandler. Just, I know you mentioned it before on here, but just tell us a little more update. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My friends prayed for me. It was a huge group of women, probably 50 women in a Bible study I was in. And they knew that I was slipping to a pretty horrific place. And so they spent 3 days and fasted and prayed. And at the end of that 3 days, I literally felt a lifting of that thought and that, terrible idea and Satan's attack there. It was over. I mean, I literally remember driving in the car, and my daughter was on, in the passenger seat. I was passing the sound. We live in a little town on the water. And so we're passing the water. And I remember looking at her and thinking, why are you not enough that I want to be here? So it was a pretty bad place to be. And someday I'll probably tell that story more and integrate that more, because one of the things I'm seeing or an understanding now more is that suicide's really big with Gen Z. And one of the ministries that's on board with me is called Stay Here. So if you go to my landing page, you're going to see 6 ministries. Those are the ministries that are actually coming alongside of me with the crowdfunding. And the Stay Here one, you guys, you need to know about it. He's the gentleman who's famous on TikTok. His name's Jacob Coyne, but he is doing a mighty work for the Lord in his project Stay Here. And so anyway, kind of deviating from that, but that part was over. I still had to walk out an immense amount of fear and anxiety. And the Lord met me in that every day, but it was not easy. And I just told the Lord, I will do whatever you want me to do, even if I'll do it scared. I'll do it scared. And so, yeah, it was unfounded fear. That's how Satan overplayed his hand. I was afraid to walk in my own little town by myself. I was afraid to fill up my own tank of gas. I couldn't pick my clothes. I couldn't. Colin had to pick out my clothes and what I was going to eat. And anyway, it was just a horrific place to be. So I have a whole nother level of compassion for people who go to that place. And then with Chandler, we were very blessed a year ago to get introduced to a pain science doctor. Everything we tried to chase down medically, we just couldn't get anywhere. He was diagnosed with a thing called POTS, but none of those meds worked. And at the same time, I was introduced to this gentleman who is a chronic pain specialist. The Lord just kept kind of speaking that to me. And so we went that direction, and that has been key. We believe his full healing can come from that. And it's a long story, but basically teaching his body to not live off of cortisol. Anyway, it's really a long story, but he had gotten to a better place. But 2 months ago, meaning living life, he's still in pain. He still has a headache all waking hours. He's amazing. He's an amazing young man. And a year ago, he was mocking the Lord and did not want prayer. And then he got into this space of being able to live life fuller with the help of this doctor, a chronic pain specialist. And you guys, praise the Lord. I think I shared with you, he is on fire for Jesus. He is youth group leading, begged us to go to Arizona to a camp called Worldview Academy that is like, it's not a rah-rah camp. It's 25 hours of classroom instruction. And they teach them to defend their faith, and then they bus them to ASU and have them practice. So he's in a great place spiritually, but 2 months ago he slid back, and he just overdid it, we learned, and he's been isolated and home and won't leave the house or look at his phone or text or talk to any friends for 2 months until last week when school started. And praise the Lord, that was a turning point for him. So yeah, please, I would take prayer for Chandler. This journey is not over. And we know that he's going to get there with the Lord's help and where he's led us. By the way, the name of my app is called Prayer, Prayr. And that is another gift from God, because the Lord gave me, I don't get visions very often. I don't know about you guys, but I don't get them very often. But the last time I got one was a couple years ago, and it was actually the name of the app was, and the Lord just made it very clear. It was without ceasing, and behind it very subtly was pray, but the name of the app was going to be without ceasing. And then I couldn't trademark it. And then I was going to do prayer room after Matthew 6:6, and I couldn't trademark it. So then the Lord led me to the name of prayer. And to me, it was, I don't know about you guys, but I did not know that technology companies and millennials on down, the cool thing is to drop vowels. So that's why the name is Prayr, dropping the E. It took me 48 hours to get used to that, that spelling. But I am telling you, I presented my app in this last week alone to 4 organizations that are college age and high school aged ministries, and they love it. They love the orange branding that Doug Burton did. They love the name. Every time they see it, they just are like, oh. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you know the name of it since I kind of skipped that part. Any other questions?
Julie, this is Alan Pratt. I don't think we've ever met. I've been a part of this group here for about 26 or 27 years.
Wow.
26 years, I guess. And I just am so delighted to just hear. I have a page and a half of notes here. And I want to follow up with you afterwards, one-on-one, just so you know that. So I've asked Bank to send me your contact information. But there's God's divine network working on all over our country. I happen to be in Minneapolis now, and that's a whole nother story. But I was in Seattle for the first 66 years of life, and now the Lord's got my wife in here, us here for another reason. But there's so much richness to your story. Could you share a little bit more about the cancer thing? Now, you said stage 4, was it leukemia?
Lymphoma.
Lymphoma. Stage 4 lymphoma.
Yes.
Diagnosed when?
In 2013, actually it was December 13th of 2012 was my first hearing the first words of cancer. I felt a lump around my belly button, and Colin and I used to joke all the time because I had a herniated belly button years prior. And then I got pregnant and had our son Chandler. So I pushed out my, so we would joke between the two of us about, oh, it's probably going to need to get fixed again. So when I felt this lump around my, belly button, I really had no alarm. I really thought it was just this herniated belly button. And so I scheduled an appointment with the doctor, and she said, well, Julie, it's not that. It's a bit of a mystery. Let's get you a scan. I was still clueless. I mean, cancer doesn't run in our family, on either side of my mom or dad. So I drive off to my scan, and it's the night before my birthday. And the technician was so sweet and kind and asking me, what do you want to do? Where are you going to dinner tomorrow night with your husband and family? And unbeknownst to me, he obviously could see all the tumors. He walks me to the doors of Allen Moore Hospital. That should have been a clue, but anyway, I get in the car, and my doctor had said, basically, if you don't hear from me, this was like a Thursday, till Monday, then it's good. So no news is good news. So I got in the car and I started driving home, and a call came in from my doctor. I wasn't even home yet. So I pulled over. I knew that was not good. I still didn't know what would entail, but I pulled over, and that's when I heard the words cancer for the first time. And then Colin and I met, and we went to the doctor that night. She wanted to see us. And of course you go through all the testing. So it finally was diagnosed. I mean, she told me she thought it was lymphoma, and obviously that was confirmed. Stage 4 because of how aggressive it was and how it was in my chest, it was in my neck and my abdomen. And praise the Lord.
So here we are 8 years later, and you are clean. Is that right?
I am clean. And every year I finally graduated to annual checkups about a year ago. I was more at the 3-month plan, the 6-month plan. So yeah, praise the Lord. And I will even tell you this, Alan, my last appointment in April, every year I got farther away from being, from the original diagnosis. It has a high reoccurrence rate. Lymphoma is chronic, and it has a very high reoccurrence rate. So I would prepare myself spiritually and emotionally to just hear those words that, we have to we have to do, we're going to have to do some more treatment. But praise the Lord, the last appointment I had, she said, Julie, you've basically gotten through the first years where the fast growing cancer would have already come back. You're now dealing with more of the slow growing. And Julie, don't look at, because I would brace myself, right, for this reoccurrence. And she's like, no, no, no. It's not a give me, it's going to happen, but there's a possibility. Mm-hmm. And you know what, Alan, the other huge piece in that I really have to share with you, the peace that the Lord has taken me to, he burned out fear and anxiety out of my life. He sanctified, he tore that to the ground. And obviously we all still deal with some level of it, but a few years ago, I did have a scare, and I had to wait 10 days to find out whether or not it was back or not. I slept like a baby. I had incredible joy, and I know it was all from the Lord. He really has taken fear and anxiety out of my life at that level. And yeah, so praise the Lord for that.
Thank you. There's so much more we'll talk about later offline.
Okay, sounds great. I would love it. Would love it.
I'm glad you asked, Alan. I had that written down. I wanted to follow up on that story too.
Yes, in remission. Remission is good, and it's all in God's hands, right? None of us are guaranteed tomorrow, but it is interesting to get to a place where you really do have to. I really had to come to grips with, like, okay, I get to have eternity. I could have eternity, but I got to leave. I'd have to leave my 2 small boys and my girls. We have 4 kiddos. So anyway.
Julie, I want to just thank you.
Did you say your dad was a ranger?
Who was that?
Sorry.
I think we tried talking at the same time.
Yeah. Hi, Jack. Yeah, he was a ranger. Yep, he was a ranger and a colonel in the Army, flew helicopters, went to Vietnam. After Vietnam, went to flight school. So yeah, he was kind of a cool dude. And every time we're in a flight pattern because we're by Fort Lewis and we're in a flight pattern. And every time a Chinook goes over, I just say, hi, Dad. And then I have to say a little bit of bragging because I'm a mom. Our oldest daughter, who's 24, went to the United States Coast Guard Academy. So that's the West Point version of Coast Guard. Some people don't know about that. The Coast Guard actually has their own little academy, and it's very little. West Point's like 1,000 a class, and Coast Guard's like 250, 230, So very proud that that my girl has carried on that tradition, and she's now, 3 years into her career and is stationed on the West Coast, which is great.
Where's she stationed? Julie, where is she?
She's stationed in Alameda. There's actually a thing called Coast Guard Island in the Alameda, Oakland area. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of national security cutters are in there, and yep.
Yeah, I'm 25 years Coast Guard and taught at the Academy.
Oh, no. I didn't know. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for your service.
But there's a question about faith. And within the service, there's this kind of hesitancy and holding back. Yet there is a strong undercurrent for those that are able to get together and share. What's your daughter's first name and how has she found that?
So her first name and what?
How has she found the environment of faith within the Semper Paratus Coast Guard world?
Yes. Yeah. She loves Jesus. That is for sure. At the Academy, they had Fellowship of Christian Officers or Officers of Fellowship. What is one of those? OCF. So she participated there, not as much as she would have liked because she was extremely busy. You have to do a sport. She was she was involved in numerous clubs.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, she's definitely, and now I will tell you, Chris, to answer your question, she does not want the Coast Guard to be her entire life. And she wants her faith community. So she has very purposefully landed with the church and serves on the tech team, very involved with young adults. They have a huge young adults program, 60 young adults. She's mentored by one of the executive women pastors on staff. So she's very, very purposely sought out to have make sure she has her faith community.
What's her first name, Julie?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline. We'll pray.
Thank
Pray
you.
for her. We'll pray for her. I never do this, but I got to show you my shirt I was compelled to put on this morning. Now I know why. It's by this company called Ranger Up. And talk about faith and service.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Can I also just quickly share with you guys, since we're getting so personal, my dad fell off a ladder and he crushed the frontal lobe of his head. And so I just, for his honor, I just would love to just put that out there, because he really was an honorable man who would not do this, but he really truly had crushed. He had no understanding of reality anymore. He was fetal position crying. He thought he was leaving my mom destitute financially. I mean, he just had no grasp on reality. So for his honor, I just want you to know that there were some different extenuating circumstances. He fought really hard to not go there. He was getting help. He was doing everything any doctor told him to do. We got all, anyway, I won't get into anymore, but there you go.
No, that is, I don't know why. When I was teaching for a dozen years, and I had a number of suicides while, from young people, that just is a deep, deep thing on my heart. And if you can reach out with your app to get young people to love life again, and that includes vets. And this shirt, and I've been involved with a group of vets that help other vets. And I don't know if you know about it. I got this thing. There's a thing called the Valhalla Project too.
Oh no, I haven't heard of that one.
If you start researching it, everyone says about 22 vets a day take their lives.
Yes.
So it's not unusual at all. But going to that place is very easy. But the church is also, I researched this, no longer condemn people that take their lives, because they realize that mentally they are not doing it out of free will, call it. They're not in control. Like just what you said, he was not himself.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I've always felt really comfortable that I know he's in heaven with the Lord. But it's always been hard to kind of understand what other people might be thinking. And he was a very honorable man and a great dad. And so that's why I struggle sometimes to share that part of my story. But I did have, I'm going to pray about how to do that and do it with honor, and yet letting people know that they don't have to go there. And like I said, check out that Stay Here ministry.
Julie, thank you so much for your sharing. I remember when we were praying for you at the fellowship, when you were trying to make that decision, and asking the Lord, am I supposed to go or no go? And so it's so encouraging to hear what God has done. So thank you for allowing us to join you in this journey. And I just have to tell you, your sharing today was so timely and relevant for a lot of different reasons. And so I will talk with you offline a little bit more as well. But sorry, my dog is setting off the alarm on the seatbelt. So our puppy's getting really big. But anyway.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I spent about 8 years working with the military, and I was talking with a chaplain about how special forces people, especially Rangers, how they just do everything above and beyond. And, when your dad went through that, and, when you talked about his recovery and how he was just, trying and all those things, and they set such high expectations for themselves. And so I just appreciate you being so transparent and sharing your struggles and just all that God is doing and all that he's done. And I'm so excited for your app. And Steve Ridgway, he's an amazing guy. And I'm excited. And I'm working with a startup now that is looking into crowdfunding too. So have a conversation with you on that level too. So
you got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Would be happy to talk and help in any way I can. And YouTube
Yeah.
videos are very helpful.
Yes. Okay, good. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Yeah, Julie, my name is Jack.
Jack.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. Hi.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at two different screens, so if it doesn't look like I'm looking, yeah, it's because my computer's not working. But the question that I had is, I mean, I was really compelled by the story of your app. I actually looked it up yesterday, couldn't find it. I was trying to download it, and what the only thing that came up as prayer was this computer game that was about you choosing good and evil, which was kind of interesting.
Very.
So glad to find it this morning, but not, I guess, as an app. But when I live in a lot of pain from an injury, and I know what pain does and how it affects not just you, but it affects the family. There's a lot of trauma, particularly when it's chronic pain and there's not answers. And when there's not answers, ambiguity does a hell of a job of just knocking out all the floorboards and all the supports and pilings of life. And one is left in this ambiguous kind of sense of floating. And particularly if your son is 18, would you say? 15. So he's 15. So, as a young guy, he wants to make his mark on the world. He wants to know how he can, influence the world and whether he has what it takes. And, all of those developmental things in the masculine soul. So I guess, as you and your husband are kind of going through this, and also as he's going through it, what does that look like for you guys? Because that's a real journey. And what kinds of supports and what is relationally and spiritually, what does that look like for you?
Wow. It can get really lonely. Of course, we have lovely friends and people that support us and support Chandler, but it's just a long, long journey. It's a big question, but lots of prayer, obviously, but there's lots of, it's just been life-changing. He didn't leave the house pretty much for 4 years, almost 5. He's never had sports. He's up till 3 or 4 in the morning in pain. So then this is before the chronic pain specialist got involved. He would come into me at 3 and 4 in the morning, and I would massage his back for 30 minutes or an hour and try and calm him down. And then he takes showers, and it's just been hard. And we put him through a lot because we were really trying to get the answer. I would chase down anything and everything. He's been through a bazillion diets. He's been poked and prodded and done things that, a lot of kids, and I always go back, I have to say, Jack, I always go back to that place. If it's not cancer, it's not a tumor, like, we have much to be thankful for. But yeah, it's been very hard when his friends are off doing sports and normal school. When that was happening, he would outgrow his shoes, and we wouldn't know he had outgrown his shoes until we just like made him go to church or made him have an outing out of the house. And then he put on his shoes and they didn't even fit. So we were always trying to like the balance. In the beginning of the journey, we would push him to do life with pain, and the neurologists were like, normalcy, normalcy. But after 3 years of him sobbing, crying, and screaming as I took him to school in the back of the car, you know, you realize, no, this is not right. Let's do online school. Let's, you know, it's just been, I don't know if I'm answering your question, Jack, but, and obviously it changes the dynamics of like my girls, you know, they're so worried about him. My other son taking over more of the responsibility. Ashton's older. I wish I could show you a picture of my family. We adopted him. He's older, and he's the most amazing young man. He's my senior in high school, but he took over, you know, way more responsibilities, way more chore. You know, I know it's, anyway, it's just, it affects the whole family. Colin and I, I'm not getting out my violin, but we haven't gone anywhere alone together for 5 years because, you know, we always wanted somebody home with him. And now we can and could. We were supposed to go to Orcas Island, but we got this thing called Corona, or the COVID. Well, anyway, it's just financially unbelievably draining.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you won't do for your son or your child. So we spent everything we had and could, and took him to the top immunologists this side of the United States, and took him, you know, holistic everything that's not covered. And, you know, but again, God is good. But yeah, thank you for asking. Did I answer your question appropriately? Have you ever had a speaker cry more in your life?
Yeah, I didn't want to be invasive in any way, but when I was kind of just looking through the or reading through and saw a picture of your son, my heart just went out to you. Probably, I don't know particularly why, but, you know, I had an 80-foot mountain climbing accident, and have lived in, you know, very horrific levels of pain for, you know, every day. And so, you know, I get it. I understand. And I've been around people who, Mayo Clinic has a pain rehabilitation program that's excellent, by the way. And you know, and I've been with and lived life with people that have very serious levels of pain. And, you know, and you know, there's sometimes there's not answers, but definitely having other people around you that get it, that understand, it kind of calms one down and kind of gives you a sense like, okay, I'm not out there alone. And I think because otherwise pain just screams that you've got to be alone, and you've got to isolate, and there's no other answers. And, you know, and you just, you go down to the smallest common denominator and live at that life. I mean, live at that level. And, you know, so, you know, if there's any, you know, if it would help in any way, just to have him, you know, be able to talk. He doesn't know me at all, but, you know, I'd love to be in prayer for you, but also would be happy to, you know, talk, you know, another time.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Wow. Thank you. That is an amazing offer, because in his world, there's nobody, you know, that has lived that. So to have somebody that is in it now, and you're still fighting every day for your joy and your, that would be amazing. I hope he's open to it. He's a very, very gregarious young man. So, and he has no problem with adults. So I will talk to him. It's a strong possibility he'll be willing to.
That's great. I'm down in Arizona, and I used to live up there, but the first thing I would do if I was up there is I'd be going, here, get in a sailboat, go sailing with me. That's one of the things that was a great lifesaver for me. And and Chris has all my boats. Actually, he has 3 or 4. I don't know. I mean, he has a bunch of boats. So
that is amazing.
But yeah.
Where in Arizona are you?
I'm in Phoenix.
Okay, we were in Gilbert 2017 to 2019.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, some other reasons took us down there. And then we wanted to come home. the boys and I have our community here in our little town that they grew up in. And so we ended up coming back. And
where are you?
we're in Stillicum. It's like, do you know Stillicum?
Yep.
Wow. I usually point out Chambers Bay Golf Course because you golfer boys usually know where that course is at. So we're literally, if you're at that course, so you see our little town with the ferry. Yeah, that's where
I was in Gig Harbor, so
okay. Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So anyhow, but yeah, no, my heart just really went out to you, and again, out to your whole family. This is not something that just affects one person. This affects everyone. And as a parent, how do you pray and how do you help your kids all adjust? But I think what you're doing with the prayer app, it is also coming out of your autobiography that the Lord has shaped your souls with, right?
Yeah.
And so, so it's not just, okay, here's a really great prayer app, this is a really cool tech tool, but this is also coming out of the well of what the Lord is doing in the middle of your family story. And I think I would just encourage you just to be continuing going, Lord, what are you teaching so that, or not even what are you teaching, how are you being present to us? And what can we just learn about being in your presence, and how, and then just show us what you want to do with this prayer app that comes out of that sense of presence with him. But I'd love to be in prayer for you guys, and really appreciate your openness and your candor and sharing those tender things.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. That's an encouragement.
Julie, you've heard of the anchor?
Yes. Yeah. Adele introduced me to Katie.
Oh, yeah, and Adele can't be with us this morning. She's on travel till the 13th, she said. So she's skedaddled out of town.
Yes.
But I did in the chat ask for Jacqueline's contact info.
Okay.
And I will write a little note, a real note that goes in the real USPS and send it to our Coast Guard. Is she Lieutenant JG now? Full lieutenant.
Yeah, that's not the second rank they get, right?
Yeah.
Yes, she is that. Yes.
Well, we're praying for her as we're praying for Chandler and for Ashton. Yeah, Ashton, what a name.
Ashton Christopher, yeah. Cool name, huh?
Ashton Christopher?
Yes, that's his middle name. Yeah.
We have an Ashton. We have an Ashton in New Zealand. His name is Ashton Stone. Anyway, we want to be close to you. Also, the $30 is not a big issue. So I think we're going to chunk into that. No big deal. But to find out more about what's going on, we've shared over the weeks and months that, when you're 76 years old, one of the restaurants I like in Seattle is called End of Line Joe's. It's right at the end of the line headed to the Fauntleroy Ferry.
Hey, that's walking distance to my house, Chris.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll have to go there sometime.
Went by End of Lines the other day.
Yeah. It's great. End of Line.
Can I jump in? I need to ask this for a friend,
Yeah.
Julie. So what if we had a group that was focused on prayer? What if we had a group that met once a week to pray together, and then we didn't talk to each other all week? And people wondered, well, are they still there? Or are they out there praying for me? When I was looking at your website, it mentioned something about, this could help a group stay together. What would we do?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And what I'm finding out is that most people are using texting and secular tools for prayer and ministry work. So that's a real sweet spot that my app is hitting too. For example, I'm sure you guys have to probably know Jeff Rogers. He knows everybody and their mother. So I met him a couple months ago, and he's been pretty helpful with a bunch of things. But I love one time he goes, Julie, he goes, I have 5 text groups of different strings of text groups, different people, and that's how we're doing it. And he goes, I can't wait to replace all that with what you're doing. So yeah, to your point, then it would keep everybody connected in between times. And literally it's like one tap and you can send somebody a notification you prayed for them. And then there's a couple other ways you can come alongside of them with a verse or something else, but some other things. But it's just simple. It's just simple. Like I want to.
Are you aware of ceaseless prayer?
I spoke with him. I spoke with him probably a year ago. And I don't quite remember the whole, why he helped me. I think I was just in research mode and such, and he was a big help. And I don't remember that we were meant to connect or after that. I don't think we were planning on it, but maybe it's time to reconnect. I don't know. But and Jack, I just want to go back and say, I am going to be praying for you. I am going to be praying for you. I am going to be praying for you. That I can't even imagine what, I look at my son and I feel like there's hope that his life won't be this forever, but for you and obviously God can do anything and do the miracle, but I just want to say I'm sorry that you're in this situation. And
well, I didn't mean to overshare with my own story, but the reality is that I think just to give you hope, my accident happened when I was 18. That was 30 years ago. And so reality is that I've traveled all over the world, raised 3 kids all over the world. And now I'm really called, I'm doing my doctoral work right now, but am called to mobilize people with disabilities and life-defining circumstances like your son into global mission, because there is a strategic place for him. There really is. It's not just like he's supposed to just survive in the basement. He has a calling on his life. He has a destiny. He has a sense. The Lord has preciously, in one sense, allowed this, and in another sense has cried and is more pain than what you guys have been in. And he's going, I want to be with you, but I have a place for you that to really make a mark in this world. And I think, there's just some real practical things that, that may be some, help, but, talking with somebody and kind of going, hey, listen, I wish I was still there, because I really would throw them on a boat. And I'd really go, you know what, we're going to just kind of let nature do a whole lot of things, because God shows up in nature. And it gets you away from the screen, and it gets you away from the 4 walls, and it helps you begin to explore. But he's meant to explore. I get a sense that just when we're talking that the word, that he's an explorer, and he's built that way, and he's not able to function that way. So how do we begin to ask the Lord how he wants to show up in that way? So just to give you hope, there's a great future ahead. And so, as I pray for you, I'll be speaking that over him as well.
Thank you.
And I put my contact stuff.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
I've got to go quickly, but I do want to. Would you be kind enough? I know there's only 7 of us left here. Could you just give us your phone number now? Are you okay with that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm okay with that. Phone number. Yeah. 253-777.
Hey, before you finish that, maybe Bengt, you want to stop or pause the recording just because we're gonna put this out. And
sorry about that.
Thank you.